Alright, so you're about to see me under the van here in a minute. After talking to some people yesterday, I learned I don't think it's the harmonic balancer issue with as far as that little vibration. Keep in mind, it's not always that I feel it very much, and it's only when I'm in drive and my foot's on the brake. So engine's under load, you're just holding it back. But I don't feel it. When I'm driving, this thing is smooth as glass, everything's golden, and if it was a harmonic balancer issue, I would notice that when I'm driving, apparently. So it seems more like a transmission thing. It is a Jasper transmission. I don't think there's anything wrong with the transmission, but you know, it's got enough miles on it now since I put that transmission in here where it probably could use a service. I'm going to drop the pan, drain the fluid, and then I'm thinking, and Dave mentioned this to me yesterday, of putting he said, you know, put an aluminum pan in it that's thin, you know. And so I started doing some research, and you know, it's really cool. They make pans for this that are higher capacity. So I could have 2 to 3 quarts more transmission fluid in this thing, and you'll see in this little video underneath the van here in a moment, there's plenty of room for it. And I don't have a problem with the exhaust crossing underneath my transmission in the Astro van. So, and they come with drain plugs. And if you get an aluminum one, you get it where it's finned, and there's a drain plug with a magnetic thing on the drain plug, which would be nice. There's steel as well. I'm thinking steel's maybe better just for the toughness of it. However, with the engine lift brackets and the engine being much higher now because of the lift, I can run a skid plate, which is something I've been wanting to do, from the front cross member to the cross member underneath the transmission, and there's no problem there, and then that's kind of protected, and that's going to happen. So maybe I'll go with the aluminum because it will dissipate heat better. I don't do a lot of towing with this thing, but I do at times, as you guys have seen. I will carry some heavy loads, you know. So yeah, that's going to be the next thing. I think the next little project should be a pretty straightforward thing. Now, if you get the oil pans that have the more capacity, they make oil filters, transmission oil filters that go inside your transmission pan that are larger, and I guess they hang down more for those pans. So I'd have to go with that as well. And then I guess you need a longer thingamajig, you know, that goes deeper into that transmission so you can properly check your fluid level. So there's a whole parts list thing that I got to figure out and get together, get all those things and get it done. And I'm gonna, you know, when we put the engine lift brackets in over at Dave's, and that included messing with the transmission mount as well, that's when this really started. So, you know, now my brain is like, you know, maybe it has everything to do with how I hard bolted that pad I ended up making on top of the transmission mount, right? I'm starting to think like, oh, and I gotta look at other mounts underneath the vehicle. There could be something I'm overlooking, but I think it could be just as simple as that. And I'm thinking about getting some sort of hard rubber. There's a 1/4 inch discrepancy between the brackets we put in, which are 2 inch, and the 1 3/4 square tubing I put on top of the transmission mount to pad between the transmission and the mount. So if I got myself some sort of like real good rubber, you know, heavy duty stuff that's a 1/4 inch thick, I could put that between that steel square tubing that's 1 3/4 and the engine mount steel plate there. Maybe that'll help. But that's what's going to happen next, because that's something I can just do. I'm not too concerned about it, skill level wise, straightforward kind of thing. It's more about dealing with the mess of the transmission fluid. When you're draining that, you have to loosen the bolts more on one side, possibly even disconnect the transmission and jack it on one end just to tip it enough so that you can get the fluid to drain efficiently. I don't know. If I'm replacing the this is a crazy idea, but I wouldn't suggest it. No, that's a stupid idea. I was just thinking, hey, if you're replacing the pan anyhow, put a hole in it and just let the fluid drain. That'd be kind of funny. But I don't know that transmission well enough to know where I could drill a hole or poke a hole. You guys want to see me do that one? Get a friggin' 10-penny nail maybe and just drive it through with a hammer. I don't know. That'd be, you know, it's not a bad idea to think about that actually. Maybe come in from the side in the corner, tap it with something sharp, create a little dimple, and then drill a hole in there and just let the fluid drain. How many of you screaming at the computer right now, don't do it, don't do it? Or the rest of you going, do it, man, do it, do it. We want to see a train wreck. You bastards. Anyhow, you'll see what's happening underneath the van in a second. Bye. What the hell there? It's a broken emergency brake line. I've been getting a weird clank back here. Don't know if that has anything to do with it, but that ain't good. Shit. I don't use the emergency brake very often, but I never liked this, that it wrapped around underneath there, but I don't know if there's another way to do it. Well, I'm under here because I was looking at my transmission. I'm thinking about putting a higher capacity transmission pan, changing the fluid. It's a Jasper transmission, but it's got at least 30,000 miles on it by now, so I want to put a new pan. They make aluminum ones, so I wanted to check. Here, hang on a second, let me move over. Alright, so I'm looking to see if, you know, how much room I have here to this cross member. Alright, because I'm going to get one that's deeper, that also has a drain plug in it. And they make aluminum ones that are finned. So I'm thinking maybe that's a way to go. They make steel ones, which I might prefer just because of, you can't see it now because it's pretty dirty. There's a couple marks on it. It's hit things in the past. So I'm nervous about that. Although I am going to put a skid plate from this cross member to the front cross member over there, up in the front. And there's plenty of clearance here underneath the oil pan and the pipe here. I can get a plate right across here. So anyhow, I got enough room to go as deep as I want to go. They make them where they're like 2 to 3 quarts more capacity. 2 quarts might probably be enough, but again, it'll have a drain plug in it back here. And I was watching other videos, and everybody else has a cross with their you know, this exhaust pipe seems to be underneath their transmission, but not on my van, so that's a good thing. Anyhow, that's coming, and I guess I got to do something about that emergency brake cable. Yeah, okay. Well, now we know. I've got to get to work now. It's early in the morning, and I was doing some research. Figured I'd go eyeball this real quick. That's the next project. I think it's that vibration thing probably has more to do. It could be a torque converter thing or something with the trans. So I wanted to address that. Everything I said in the last video about it, the harmonic balancer, I'm taking all that back. I'm thinking that's probably not it. It's only under load. It's only when I'm on the brake in drive when I feel. So that tells you that's got something to do with that. And yeah, we'll see what happens.